It's 2002, and a disaster is brewing. The Nyiragongo volcano erupts and displaces hundreds of thousands of Congolese people. FBI agent Robert Hansen is caught for selling U.S. state secrets to the Russians, and French President Jacques Chirac is almost assassinated while holding a speech. The year was pretty crazy. However, while all of this was happening, someone was about to initiate one of the most dangerous hacks in history. This is the forgotten story of Astra, the world's first arms-dealing hacker. But before we continue, I'd like to introduce you to today's sponsor, Internext. Internext is our favorite encrypted cloud storage product on the market. It offers the best cloud storage in the world while using military-grade encryption and zero-knowledge protocol to make sure nobody can get their hands on your files. Internext basically helps you free up space from any device you're using. But if you're like me, then your phone is probably full of stuff all the time. So why not free up some space? It's available on all devices and operating systems, including Linux. Internext ensures that your files and photos are always 100% private and secure, so you don't have to worry about anything at all, other than taking more photos and videos. They even have the Internext Send service, which encrypts your files and lets you immediately send it to anyone via link or email. And as they say, there's no judgment, only privacy. They have nothing to hide and are fully open source. You can check their code on GitHub. So, if speed, privacy, and security are big deals to you, check out the link in the description and sign up for Internext for free. And if you need more storage, then our link automatically provides you with an exclusive 50% discount on lifetime plans. That's right, one payment for life. Follow the link to get the discount. Now, let's get back to the video. The Dassault Group leadership had come together in their luxurious headquarters in Paris. An emergency meeting was called by one of their regional managers. As it turns out, one of their managers was informed about a secret weapons deal that had taken place a few days before. Someone in Germany had purchased their original blueprints for some of their fighter jets, and this for less than $1,000 per blueprint. The Dassault leadership immediately decided to investigate the situation. However, there was one important factor that everyone had to keep in mind: absolute secrecy. And to understand why secrecy was of utter importance, we need to go back in time, in particular, back to 1991. During this year, the highly popular Belgian politician André Kuls contacted several Belgian journalists and told them that he was about to make a massive political revelation. But only a few days later, he was assassinated by two Tunisian hitmen in the middle of the city of Liège. The assassination couldn't have come at a worse moment and sparked many dark theories about just what Kuls was about to reveal. The case was massive and initiated a large-scale investigation into the killing. To keep it short, it seemed as if the assassination wasn't random and that members of the Socialist Party, especially Van de Beest, had something to do with it. However, Van de Beest denied any allegations and even offered to testify before a special commission that had been set up for the case. And this was a massive mistake. During his hearing, Van de Beest made several references to, quote, irregularities and discrepancies in the Socialist Party's finances. And this is where the French defense company Dassault comes into the game. It was discovered that Dassault and the Italian company Augusta had bribed Belgian politicians, Belgian businessmen, and even NATO officials in order to be rewarded a contract in which they upgraded the Belgian army.
I've given my word of honor as Belgian Minister of State that I'm innocent.
He faces serious charges. It's alleged that when Klaus was a minister, his party took a bribe in return for a huge contract to build 48 army helicopters.
The sentences for the scandal were eventually revealed in December of 1998. Lawyers, politicians, NATO members, and businessmen were convicted and fined, and one of these was Sergei Dassault, who was the CEO at the time. And obviously, news of his conviction shot down the company's stock price from $188 to only $17 in a matter of days. This scandal was the biggest disaster the Dassault Group ever went through. However, in 2002, another bribery case involving the French company and the South Korean military was revealed, which once again damaged their reputation.
I was there just to give to the minister the signification and the meaning and the political interest that we saw in a possible deal on those planes of new generation, where Rafale is certainly one of the best competitors. So that's all. I mean, I was there just to...
You do know the bribery scandal?
That's another thing. That's that's not for me. Okay.
And if word about someone selling their blueprints were to spread, the company could be completely wiped out. They believed that keeping the matter secret and investigating it on their own would be the best cause of action. However, this would turn out to be a serious miscalculation. As the weeks went by, more and more leaks were occurring. Their blueprints were popping up all over Europe, the Middle East, and even Brazil. Furthermore, it wasn't only their fighter jets. Even their miscellaneous 3D designs were being sold. In addition to this, rumors about the blueprints being sold to Iran, Iraq, and possibly even Gaddafi's Libya were also spreading. However, just how many Middle Eastern states got their hands onto this information is unknown.
Bonjour. Nous avons un problème. Nous devons nous rencontrer.
The situation was getting worse every month, and Dassault was forced to break their secrecy by asking Interpol and the French Secret Service to help with the investigation. With their help, they discovered that the seller was a man who went by the alias of Astra, the Greek word for star. However, over the next few months, nothing else would be discovered about him. No pictures were available, and no real names or addresses would be identified. Astra was basically an arms-dealing ghost, and the only clue was his Greek alias, which eventually led the investigators to focus their attention on Greece. But as the investigations went on, Astra began selling new information. Whoever he wasn't slowing down. However, he made one tiny mistake. It turns out that he had been using the internet to contact potential buyers, and even though nowadays almost every criminal is connected to the web, it wasn't so common in the early 2000s. This led investigators to believe that Astra was somewhat experienced with computers, and that he might have gained access to Dassault's network by hacking into it. However, there were still no clues as to who he really was. But the last 3 years hadn't been a complete waste of time. The investigators discovered that Astra hadn't been working alone, but that he was working with at least one middleman in the UK. Interpol theorized that this person most likely was just a money mule who collected the money and sent it back to Astra. This way, he could prevent his identity from being revealed if one of his clients was caught. Moreover, contact with his money mule was allegedly being made only over forums and burner accounts. But unbeknownst to Astra, 3 years after the leaks began, an unknown source, possibly an old client or previous money mule, was caught by the investigators. The case is shrouded in secrecy, but after this occurred, Interpol expanded their team to focus on Athens. However, with Athens having a population of over 3 million people, finding a paranoid, arms-dealing cybercriminal wouldn't be an easy task. Through either sheer luck or an anonymous tip, the Greek team of investigators discovered that a suspicious middle-aged man was living in an apartment in central Athens. This man was using the identity of someone else to rent the place. Furthermore, the man's real identity had been accused of 2 criminal hacking attempts in the early 2000s, but for whatever reason, his cases never went to court. This indicated that he had possibly even hacked into the Greek government to hide his court cases to avoid jail time. Everything was getting weirder by the day, but authorities were told to stand down until a special team of French intelligence service, DGSE, as well as members of Dassault arrived in Greece. Once everyone was in Athens, the man was surveilled for a few weeks before the Greek authorities were finally given the green light for his arrest in January of 2008. And at this moment, everything gets really weird. For whatever reason, layers upon layers of secrecy began to envelop the case, and information about the entire ordeal seems to disappear from public records. The man's identity isn't revealed to the public. The information about the Dassault leaks is suppressed, and the French company doesn't issue any important statements on the situation. Only 3 small details were revealed. Mainly that the man is either 57 or 58 years old, has a Greek nationality, and he is a mathematician. However, several reports differ from each other, and the legitimacy of these claims is highly debated. This is because there are many different interests at play here, and many different entities trying to save their reputations. But because this case is so mysterious, many hacking enthusiasts have taken matters into their own hands and developed several theories about what really happened in 2008. Starting with the professor theory. This is, of course, about the alleged 57 or 58-year-old mathematician whose name was never revealed. However, some people claim to have found information about him and matched the little pieces of information with a real person. These theories suggest that Astra was a mathematics professor from a Greek university, in particular the Maths and Physics University located in Athens, which is the city where Astra was arrested. The professor in question is called Themistocles M, and would have in fact turned 57 soon after Astra's arrest in 2008, which would match the age that was revealed to the media. However, this theory gets even more interesting when we look at what he was doing in the early 90s, because during that time he became a member of the Royal Astrological Society of London, an organization that encourages and promotes the study of astronomy and solar system science. And this, of course, opens connections to his alias Astra, the Greek word for star. Furthermore, he is an extremely well-traveled man, having given many speeches in Israel, the US, Italy, Serbia, and many other European as well as Asian countries. And if we believe the official story, these are all places where Dassault's blueprints were sold. However, there is one major issue with the theory. Themistocles didn't go to prison in 2008. To make up for this, the theory suggests that the secrecy surrounding the case after 2008 means that he made some sort of deal with the authorities and thus never went to jail. However, no conclusive evidence linking the two has been found, and even though he would have turned 57 in a few weeks after Astra's arrest, he wouldn't perfectly match the age that was disclosed by the Greek police. In addition to this, many believe that there was never any professor at work here, but that something a lot more sinister was going on. The next theory is the insider theory. The insider theory is based on the idea that there was no hack at all, and that the lack of information on the entire ordeal means that the story was completely fabricated and was a scheme to hide the truth from the public, a truth that, if revealed, would have destroyed Dassault's reputation forever. This theory claims that the person selling the weapon blueprints was in fact someone working at Dassault, someone who was given the credentials to obtain direct access to everything in their databases. According to some experts, Dassault's companies didn't have any sophisticated identity or access control for their digital data sets until the late 2000s, and this could have been exploited by one of their employees. This basically means that almost anyone who knew where certain data was could access and copy it without anyone ever knowing, and even though it's ridiculous to think that a defense company wouldn't have an extremely secure system. Furthermore, Paul Velusame, vice president of marketing for database security vendor VAL, analyzed the case and stated that the supposed hacker was probably, quote, given temporary access to certain resources to work on a project, and, when the project was done, those access permissions were never revoked, unquote. And as such, the insider could continue stealing data. However, there's one big point that doesn't make a lot of sense. If they knew that someone was leaking information in 2002, they probably took the adequate measures to make sure it wasn't an insider. And if this was the case, why didn't they catch them? It would only make sense if the person leaking the data was a high-ranking and trustworthy person in the Dassault group, which, if true, would have been an even bigger embarrassment and would justify making up a completely fake story. So, to prevent another public embarrassment and catastrophic plunge of their stock price, they possibly decided to keep everything secret and made up a story about being hit by one of the best hackers ever. And talking about hackers, the third suspect involves one of the most famous Greek hackers to date. The theory focuses on soterist Cyphus and a Greek hacking forum known as hack.gr. During the year 2000, soterist Cyphus was a member of hack.gr, a popular Greek hacking forum that orchestrated Greece's first ever major computer fraud, known today as the Pink Phone fraud case. Cyphus and a few other members of hack.gr basically conducted a massive hack into the Greek government, but were caught in the most bizarre manner when they infiltrated the Hellenic National Research Foundation. For whatever reason, they hacked their admin computer and used their phone lines to mass dial phone numbers outside of the country, and this was really, and we mean really, expensive. The damage from what we would call a pure act of trolling would amount to almost 10 million drachmas, or around 31,000 US dollars, that the research center had to pay to the telecommunications company OTE. But this wasn't all there was to the story. The group had also hacked into over 233 international businesses, Greek government departments, and even into the Bank of Greece. Furthermore, only Cyphus and a small group of hack.gr members were apprehended, leaving numerous others involved in the hack unidentified. And this means that the true extent of the 2000 hack.gr attacks remain undisclosed to this day, which obviously leaves a lot of space to theorize who else was hit by the Greek hacking forum. The current theory believes that one of the members that evaded capture had also penetrated the Dassault network during their massive attack. However, because it was such a big deal once Cyphus was caught, they kept a low profile and got rid of any clues that connected them to Dassault. Once the hype around Cyphus and hack.gr died down, this person or group reorganized and started to prepare a way to profit off their intrusion into Dassault and possibly even a bunch of other unknown companies. And what better place to organize cyber heists and find international accomplices than on a hacking forum, right? But one issue still remains. If Astra was caught, why keep it secret? Well, this is explained in the second part of this theory, which claims that because there's no connection to anyone and an extremely high degree of secrecy, there was an involvement from some sort of powerful organization, and the main suspect would definitely be the French intelligence agency, also known as DGSE. Since the French Secret Service was heavily involved in the investigation and prohibited any apprehension before their teams arrived in Athens, many believed that the DGSE didn't even want to imprison Astra, but that they wanted to make a deal with him. The theory basically says that, in exchange for his freedom, he was recruited by the DGSE's cyber department to help them in their cyber warfare operations. And this is backed by the fact that the DGSE has been recruiting former cyber criminals since the inception of its Internet Cell in 1997. In this cell, the DGSE would often enlist, quote, repentant hackers, unquote, to conduct offensive cyber attacks, and Astra could have been another one of these repentant hackers. This would certainly explain why the authorities never revealed his identity and why nobody has been able to find his prison records, court case, nor anyone connected to him. In addition to this, we need to keep in mind that the amount of secrecy involved in this case is almost impossible without the help of an intelligence service or some sort of government intervention. Furthermore, there is absolutely no information about how Astra hacked into Dassault, indicating that his methods were pretty advanced and kept secret to avoid other governments getting their hands on his knowledge. Obviously, there are many more crazy theories that range from some random kid all the way to an organized security service operated by the CIA. But the truth is that the case is shrouded in so much secrecy that we might never know who Astra really was. Narrated by Eric Peabody. However,